Steve Goslin found himself in a place he never expected, after finding he had no place and no one to turn to.
After 39 years of using alcohol and drugs, and using up everybody that was in my life, I ended up here. I had driven by here lots of times, walked by here lots of times, but I figured I was never this low.
Steve turned to the Charles Street Men's Hostel, where he made his first steps at getting back to a life off the streets.
I was scared to come here. I didn't want to be like everybody else. When I realized I was like everybody else and I came in here, and there were some people that offered to help me. When I made my first step, there were some people that made a step with me. And I realized that there was, again, some people in my life that trusted me because I had broken that trust for the last 39 years. And so every time I made a step, they made a step with me. Every time I asked for some help, it was right there. You know, coming down at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when I was struggling, there was people behind the counter to talk to me and listen to me.
Ron Fleming with the House of Friendship and the Charles Street Men's Hostel says they see over 850 men who, for many different reasons, walk through their door on a yearly basis.
Men experience homelessness when they have no place to stay. What I've learned in talking with guys is that means they have no family, no friends, they've burned bridges or they never had bridges, so it means that they don't have that sort of personal support network in place. At our shelter here, we have 39 beds and then an internal expansion capacity for another 12 cots. We serve an average, I mean it fluctuates somewhat, but on average in the low 40s, 48 to 43 people per night. And over a year we serve about 850, between 800 and 900 separate individuals that come through the shelter in a given year. Some stay 1 or 2 nights, some stay a month. Most come through once during the year and stay for 10 days or less.
Ron says it's important to have a place like the Charles Street Men's Shelter, not only to provide emergency services, but also to act as a stepping stone for the men here to get back on their own feet.
It's important to have a place like this as a shelter, partly for the emergency support that people receive so that they aren't stuck out on the street. It gives people shelter and food just to maintain their personal health and well-being. I think it's also important as a place for transition, a place where people can come to gather some support and have a place to move on from to more stable housing and community than they've had in the past.
Ron says the community is on the right track when it comes to alleviating homelessness, but there's always more that could be done.
I think we are addressing the needs for housing and supports of people in the community. There is housing that's being developed and there's supports that are in place, but there's always more that needs to be done. I mean, we still see 800 people a year in our shelter, plus there are other shelters, and the wait list for community housing is 3,000 or 4,000 families long, or households long.
Brandon Spunner has been employed at the shelter for about 3 years and finds the residents and their stories inspiring.
I've learned that I probably am not strong enough to do what they're doing, and that's a challenge for me every day, to come into a place where men are really trying to start over and facing issues that I could never tackle on my own, and to see their strength in that.
Brandon feels that the community is doing a good job supporting those who need the services, but the next step is to integrate them back into society so they may fully heal.
We do a wonderful job of feeding people that need a meal, and donating clothes. These are all very important things. One thing that I'd like to see us working on more, though, is this community part. The men often say, you know, I'm the recipient of all these really great things, and there's a place in my life where I need a meal or I need a new coat or whatever, but I also speak other languages I'd love to teach, or I'm a great carpenter. I used to be a carpenter, and that I'd really love to use these skills, and that's where we start hitting on some of the self-worth and those are things that really plague someone's mental health and their addictions, and that, not having a place to be part of this community.
Thanks to the Charles Street Men's Hostel, Steve is on the path to a full recovery, leading a life feeling content and fulfilled.
Where am I right now? I'm figuring out who I am. I like who I am. I still come back here sometimes 2-3 times a week, sometimes 2-3 times a day. and talk to staff and guys that I know that are going through here, or I bring guys down here. I'm back to work. I'm a carpenter, so that's what I love to do. I've been doing that since I was 16. I still love to do it. You know what? Today I just live for this minute right now. That's it. I got nothing else planned, just this minute.
In Kitchener, I'm Sarah Monette for Talk Local.
Welcome.